I'm sitting here with Sarah Corbett at the day after a really great weekend at Maui. Wowie. A great little festival up near Dereham in Norfolk. And it has the feel of an old style festival.
It really does.
There is no corporate here at all.
No, it's nice. Nice to see it's still possible.
So Sarah Corbett and I go back a day or two.
Just a couple of three, yeah.
And I'm sure your voice is being picked up, but
Want me to be louder?
I want you to be loud. I want you to be.
I can be louder.
That's good.
It
That's
has
good.
been known.
We like that. We like that. Now we came across each other through events, really.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, when my kids were small, it was an obligation to find Mr. Rowe the storyteller at every event. So yeah, I think we knew each other on that basis for a long time. And of course Sam, my middle one, insisted on having a tailcoat in exceptionally nice satin and a stick so he could be like John Rowe when he was small. So yeah, you featured in all their lives really.
But despite that, they haven't done badly, have they?
They're all right. They're all right. Yeah, it didn't affect them badly. Maybe you're a good influence. Fancy that.
Oh my goodness. So, and now this is the nature of not wearing the little microphones. The cars, people are leaving the site at this moment, and there will be cars coming in. But that is the nature of open air.
It's reality.
It's reality.
We exist in this. It's fine.
So, right. Anyway, to continue, we did travel a bit with foolhardy folk in their circus.
We did. We did a few foolhardy shows in the 90s, probably.
Yeah, I think it was the 90s, and I remember the first one where you were you were feeling the stresses of being a single mum, I think.
Something.
Yeah, something about you were
making me less than shiny.
You're a bit up and down, shall we say?
It's having some moments for sure.
But very nice moments, but up and down, and we hadn't decided on a stage name for you, and and you were doing club swinging.
I was doing club swinging. That's right.
And yes. You've dropped your voice again, darling. You've
yeah.
dropped your voice.
Sorry.
Bit more theatrical.
I'm nervous.
Yeah,
right.
You're nervous. Of course. Anyway.
Yeah, club swinging was my thing, and staff back then.
Yeah, so we hadn't decided on a name for you. So suddenly I said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please can you welcome into the ring Mood Swings.
It was a moment. It was a moment.
You have forgiven me, which is rather...
I forgave you straight away. I found the humour in it. It was okay. It was probably what I needed. A kick up the arse to not be such a stroppy neck.
Yeah. and then we used to do a lot of work for sort of recycling shows and different shows and public information.
Yes,
and
you did. I'd forgotten about that.
And so I deploy you occasionally for that. The purpose was to have sort of circusy type stuff or performers to attract people to the stalls where people would give them real information.
Yeah.
And
bring them along.
There was a wonderful moment in Ipswich where I had you and your friend in latex.
We did go through a serious latex phase, it's true. Yeah. And, it was good fun, mainly.
Yeah,
bit of an eye-opener for some of the people we encountered, I think.
Yes, and I remember at a festival on probably Earlham Park, I think, where they weren't letting it open. The local county council or city council would not let it open, but there was a health and safety person walking around in a white coat with a clipboard, and there was just one generator that she wasn't happy with that was attached to a sort of
bouncy castle.
That was it. And I remember your friend sort of, because you're both in latex.
We dominatrixed her out of the
Yes,
area.
you,
Yeah,
you, you, you went up to her and said, "We love women in white coats."
we did that.
And
We did.
and she left.
She found it a little bit much and she didn't want to play. So, yeah, the bouncy castle stayed up, the kids smiled, and the festival opened. I think that it was
Yes.
a good turn for the festival.
So
really.
so whenever you're faced with overzealous health and safety officers, I recommend women in latex and doing the dominatrix on them. And so
Seems so long ago.
yes, of course. Since then, you don't you don't really do any performing now, do you?
I don't perform anymore, and actually at this festival I brought along my fire staffs because I moved house last week and I found all my old fire staffs, and I've brought them along and given them to people here who wanted to learn fire staff. They weren't getting used, they were stuck in the shed, so I've passed them on just for new people to learn to use them. So yeah, officially retired from performing some time ago.
But Sam is performing. He's doing music.
And he's a
isn't he?
DJ, yeah. Sam's
Yeah.
a DJ. Yeah,
And
he's done a couple of gigs here at this festival, and he's got others coming up through the season. So yeah, nice little side hustle. He enjoys
yeah.
it.
And Sam has remained creative in all sorts of ways.
He's a very creative lad, yeah. All my kids did good. There must be something in this alternative parent malarkey.
Yes, and of course the other aspect of your existence that crossed over both in festival fields when you had the Moroccan wedding tent and when you were when you had all, because how long have you been dealing with Morocco?
24, 25 years maybe, quite a while.
And when you first went there, you'd go up into the mountains with the Land Rover, wouldn't you?
Drove there from the UK 3 or 4 times a year, setting up fair trade cooperatives. That was a thing in my life after the circus thing. There comes a point where those latex costumes would look better on someone else. And
Yes.
you have to be self-respecting and realise that and find something else fun to do. So yeah, at that point went off in a 4x4 with an I4 Williams trailer and dragged it all over Morocco and the kids, and found people making things and set up many cooperatives over 7 or 8 years. It was fun.
And you're still doing that with the but you've expanded it from Morocco, although you don't go there. Well, you go sometimes, but you sort of deal with sort of antique jewellery and fabrics, don't you?
Yeah, to some extent. It's something that I learned through things that came from those Moroccan trips, and now I am working in a very, very high-end art gallery in London, dealing in those things internationally and getting them back into museums in their countries of origin.
Yes, we had a long conversation about that
We did.
yesterday.
We did.
About getting things back to the countries of origin.
Yeah.
And the fact that people, once they're there, people should be free to do whatever they want with them.
Exactly. If
If
you're
they want
giving them
to
back, they're not yours anymore. So let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Exactly.
So
So this brings Morocco into our shared story, really.
yeah, well,
doesn't it?
in the Moroccan tent, of course, I would fall asleep occasionally.
Oh, do you remember at the fairy fair? See, there's a thing. John smells our kitchen area from wherever he is on site and turns up and says, "Oh, how lovely to see you and your picnic baskets of delights," and often drops by for a snack or a cup of tea. And on one occasion at the fairy fair at Narborough, John came to visit us in our big Moroccan wedding marquee and sat down, was given a cup of tea and promptly fell asleep, head tipped back, mouth open. And one of the kids who'd seen you tell stories earlier was really concerned and went, "Mum, look, what's wrong with the storyteller?" I think he was concerned for your well-being. And so we had to let him know that in between stories, you have to open your mouth to the universe to let the next ones in, and that it wouldn't last long, and you'd be out there to share the ones that had just been downloaded, and that you were still holding your cup of tea even though you were asleep.
And you told me I'm the storyteller, right? So
We're all a bit of a storyteller, Joe.
So yeah, and the feeding remains a theme of our relationship. For quite, I would turn up at different times, and wonderfully, you got me out of trouble a few times. Well, I remember when I needed to get over. I think Trude's husband had died, and I needed to get over to America in a big hurry. And this is typical of Sarah. I'm sitting there saying, "How am I going to do this?" She said, "Well, I'd buy you a plane ticket." And
well, it's quite simple. If it's a week that I can, I would.
yes, so
And I do, and I will.
yeah. So and then of course this takes through to I had a stroke, and I've talked about this in other videos of being in Morocco in 1968 with Nostra A35, etc., etc. But I hadn't been since '68, and so I'd had a stroke, and I had gaps in the stories.
They were scary times. Let's be real.
Well, it was. Well, at least I knew I had a brain because I'd bleed in it, and so.
That's the way to frame it, yeah.
Yeah. So. In fact, it was Stephanie who told me I'd had a stroke. I said I've Googled stroke and I haven't got a stroke, but that was earlier in the day when I could still press the keys on the keyboard. By later in the day, my finger wasn't going anywhere near, and I'd forgotten how to write and everything, which is really bad for a writer. So,
Quite a strong clue that something's wrong.
Absolutely. And when the ambulance came, they said, "Let me help you with your shoes," and I'm going, "No, I can put my own shoes on." And then I said, "Excuse me, can I change my mind?" So anyway, then we did. Then that was I think that was in November. So by February, I sort of was fairly functional, not fully, and I still had holes in the stories. So you thought the obvious thing to do was for me to go and convalesce in Marrakesh.
I just said I'm going to Marrakesh and I'll get your ticket, come with me. I think was how that. I don't think I was taking no for an answer. I thought the warm climates would be good.
I've never turned down a free room and a plane ticket in my life.
So yeah, off we went.
And
off we went to Marrakesh.
And so you took me to. You showed me round. I haven't the faintest idea who my host was at the time, and I was just taking it as a free room and thing. And then you and Sean took me to the Clock Cafe.
Yeah, it was a new thing at the time, and they had storytelling, and I hadn't been before, but I just thought it would be something you'd enjoy. Simple as that.
And I walked in, and there was El Hajj Ahmed there, leading it.
I've got to just rewind a little bit here. So on the way, John mentions that what if El Hajj is there? Oh, such an amazing storyteller. I feel unworthy. And when we walked in, these two icons of storytelling meet each other's gaze across the room, and they're both doing the "I'm not worthy to be in your presence" thing. It was very sweet. Very sweet. And he was insisting that you joined him on the stage.
Yeah, so I did the story, and it was like stepping off a cliff, because I wasn't even sure that the stories were still there.
I did point out that it's okay. You're in Morocco. Tell the story. Half the people here don't speak English. It's the perfect place to try.
Well, and the whole thing came back, and I it was just a lovely feeling. And then Haj and I sat in a corner and swapped stories. And there was a young man there who was just starting his storytelling journey, Zuhair, and he was translating the Haj into English and mine. I told Haj the Duncan Williamson story, and he'd translate that back into Moroccan. and I didn't think anything of it until and I went backwards and forwards a bit because you take me round all your Marrakesh and all these wonderful traders that were you'd done your jewellery tours. People have bought stuff on their jewellery tours, and I've got to make this clear. When Sarah takes people there, it's not like taking a cut, and she just puts them in there and lets them get on with it. There's no, but what I love about Morocco is everyone's grateful.
Yeah.
And so you had to go and visit, and they would produce huge bowls of couscous.
Yeah, hospitality is a big deal. And
Yeah.
if you get into a world there where you're behind the veil of tourism and you get to know people, then amazing experiences open up for sure.
Yes, on a Friday when the young lads run the kiosks, there. That car's going to back. Oh no, it's turned off its engine. It's great. When the young lads they put a couscous out on the street, don't they? And all their friends come.
Everybody comes and joins them.
And I've been invited to sit down. Passing John, come and sit down, and they bring me a spoon, which I think that's lovely.
And do you know what they call that spoon in
What?
Morocco? It's called the mother-in-law because it just interferes and gets in the way of what you need to do. That's why they use their hands.
Yeah. So anyway, it was lovely, and I found that about Morocco, and I think one of the reasons I have, as Sarah put, I've got behind the veil of tourism, because and it's a lot to do with you, and we did. So I went out a couple of times after that, Amber's wedding and so forth, and there was a lovely moment where, because I like to just let things happen. Whether it's going to put me in danger or not, it's kind of irrelevant.
It's an adventure.
So it's just like here, where there'll be something in every shop one year, but when you need it the next year, it's not there.
They've gone.
And I wanted a leather thing to sort of put the wedding speech in, or the blessings or whatever I was doing for Amber, and I couldn't find one anywhere. And I've gone around the leather souks, and I'm walking down, I'm on the edge, and there's a little hustler comes up to me, and he reminded me of the guys I met in '68. The tight, shiny trousers, the waistcoat made out of Frisian cow with the black and white on the outside, and the greased hair. I thought, I know you. and he's rattling away trying to get me, and then he mentions leather, and I thought, I'll follow you. You've just mentioned the word. I am at this moment looking for that particular thing. And he takes me down through all these back streets, and I thought, listen, and gradually the streets fill up with children, and they're fascinated by the white hair and the white beard, and a lot of touching going on. And the last time I was in a street filled of children, I was down in Essaouira, and it was a cul-de-sac, and I didn't know it was a cul-de-sac. And I was walking down there, and the street filled with children behind and going penga, 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 and they're begging. And I got to the end, and I got near the end, and there's a woman in white with the olive green yashmak, and I thought, oh, thank God I'm an adult. And I went past her, and she held out her hand. Oh, God. And I was only 20 years old at the time. And so I turned around, and it was a cul-de-sac, so I had to walk back through everyone. But I think at that point I realised that it's only in your head that things are threatening. It was like, these were just kids that, especially in '68,
Yeah.
if you're a Westerner walking around,
Exactly.
you're walking riches.
You loaded. You were
So,
loaded.
the fact that I was sort of beatnik with not a penny in my pocket was irrelevant. But even that penny was worth 10 times what they had. Um, so, um, but now, I forget where. Oh yeah, we were doing the leather thing. So I'm going out, and the streets are filling up behind me, and I'm quite relaxed about this now because when I'm not, I'm an ancient, and then we get to where they dye all the leather.
Stinks.
Yeah, but he passes me on to someone else, and by this time I'm thinking there's two people that have got to earn a living out of this.
This is a step up.
And so I'm going round, and he's asking me if I've got a camera to take photos, and I've got the sense to say no because I know, that'll be taxed, and then we come out of that, and this con still hasn't happened, and I'm fascinated by this because I do like a good con, and then he takes. There's only one leather shop there, in the souk there's thousands, but there's one leather shop, and the prices on it is probably twice as much as you pay in Oxford Street, and but then I see on the counter the very thing I've been searching for.
Just waiting there for you.
So,
it's definitely exit through the gift shop, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the Moroccan style.
Yeah, and there it was, and I turned down the £1 million leather jackets and so forth, and there it was, and I mean, I think I only paid 3 times the right price, which is quite reasonable.
That's good, you did well.
Yes, but we still haven't had the con, because by now there's 3 people who've got to earn a living from
And
me.
it will magnify if it's allowed to.
And I'm thinking, when you're direct selling, there's a thing called the BAT, which is where you come to the point where everyone has to pull out their wallets and give you the thing for the money for whatever it is, the pen set or whatever you're trying to sell. And so I'm still waiting for the BAT. And we get back, and the guy who'd taken me around the leather thing was, the dyeing thing was waiting there. And he pointed to all this stuff in Arabic, and he said, that says I have to pay a tax for everyone I take round. And I thought, well, that's all right. I've been waiting for this. That's not a bad story. So I always have a pocket with the money in, and a pocket with the money I want to give away in.
Smart move.
So I can't pull too much out because I know I'm soft touch.
Yeah, me
so
too.
I'm going to give it away anyway.
too.
Whatever. So anyway, I give them what I think is quite reasonable. But they had done 2 hours work
They had?
on me.
Yeah.
I thought they deserved.
And you knew everything about the smell of leather making.
Yes, and I thought 2 hours is worth some remuneration.
It is.
And they of course wanted to show me back to the square, which would have cost more. And I'd learnt in prisons, when I was working in prisons, that you have to look like you know where you're going, because you've got keys. And so I'd walk through doors where I hadn't the faintest idea what was going to be on the other side, but I'd unlock it, lock it behind me, so I said, I know where I'm going, and I walked off with purpose, without the faintest idea of where I was going. It took me hours to get back to where I wanted
But
to.
you had scored the object you were looking for.
But it was all good. But that was pure Morocco.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I think, the thing to remember as well, for tourists, is that those, apart from the fact they pay extortionate rents for their little shops in the souk,
They do.
every time if you think something is overpriced and you pay it and you don't, and then you feel foolish, don't feel foolish, because whatever you paid is going to keep 3 families out in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
Moroccans are very good at sharing their income to make sure that the whole street eats.
Yeah.
It's a very Moroccan thing.
I know one little stall is round the corner from not Spice, the one in the other direction, Cinnamon or whatever it was. Anyway, there's 5.
Star?
No, the third one.
Cinnamon.
Yeah. So, and there's a little stall there with 5 brothers who run it, and they take turns. And that stall has brought. I've sat with them and talked. You know, you have a natter, don't you? Once you get
It's
in,
been known.
and you know, I know that stall has funded 5 families of children through university, and their parents probably couldn't read and write.
Exactly.
And so, you know, but I always make him work for it because I love the banter.
You'll get plenty of banter if you give it the time.
Well, you sit down, you know, I always sit at the back and drink my tea and all that. And he opens the chest full of antiques that were made last week. And then you know, I it's all right. And then he uses, and I love picking up phrases. And he says, "Help me pull my camel."
That's great.
And I love that.
On my first trip to Morocco, I went to various places, travelled around for quite a while, and in Fez I met a very, very sweet boy, probably 7 or 8 years old, and he came along and he went, look madam, look at this lovely turtle, you should buy this lovely turtle. And I said, it is a lovely turtle, but I'm just here on holiday and I can't take the lovely turtle back to my house, so you should keep it. And he said, oh, no, madam, that's not how this game works. How this game works is I'm very sweet and appealing and young, and you think, oh, what a clever young boy offering a turtle to earn some money for his family, and you give me 10 dirhams and I give you the turtle. Now I already know that you can't take it home, so what you're going to do is you're going to go and put it over there by the water, like all the nice ladies who buy my turtle do, and then I wait for you to leave and I go back and I pick it up and I wait for the next nice lady to come and do it again. That's my job. And yeah, you can't really argue with it.
I bet you gave me 10 dirhams.
I did. I love a good story.
But
I'm a sucker for a good story.
But that's also what I like, is the openness.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like.
And also, there's this concept that if you can better someone in a deal, it's not that you're cheating, it's that you're clever and you're showing your intelligence, and that's a positive thing. It's not a negative of conning someone. That's not in the book.
And if you go through the ritual, the other than the ritual, you know, you continue the conversation. I mean, the belt sellers in the square.
Yeah.
There's one guy that came and I went through. You know, we went through the whole thing. It took 10 minutes to go through the whole ritual, and you mustn't cut it off. And by the end, probably by 3/4 of the way through, he knew I wasn't going to buy any belts off him. But you still have to complete the ritual.
Yep.
And then we sat down and had a conversation about his village.
Something else. Yeah. It's a rewarding and oftentimes difficult and amazing and frustrating place by equal measure, I would say.
But only frustrating if you're in a hurry.
Yeah, you'd never be in a hurry.
No. So, you know, the areas where, on the first storytelling festival, when we did the march through, it was only a few minutes after lockdown, and they said it was like bringing lifeblood back to the veins of the soup. But there's traders there that I still have as my regular suppliers, because after that he showed me videos of the march.
Yeah.
And he said, I give you artist price, not tourist price. So at that point, I knew they'd had nothing for 2 years.
And you bought something.
So I bought him what he asked. Now I go there and it's all jokey. You know, I'd say, I don't just want a John Price, I want a super John Price. And I get it, you know. And then the guy opposite does the same with the bags. And then he goes on about sort of, you know, there was a bunch of Dutch tourists there. He said, They think they're going to come here and get it for nothing, because that's the reverse. That's the mirror of their. There's people who think they can go to not just Morocco but different countries and get stuff for nothing, when they can quite easily
afford to pay more.
I heard something about Bali, where where they have a system of carrier bags, blue carrier bags and pink carrier bags, and if people pay a fair price, they're given a blue carrier bag. If they're real pigs and sort of, but because the guys just need to sell, so they'll sell it for really tight profit margin.
They will.
And but if someone's taken them down that far, they get a pink carrier bag, so
Love
all
that.
the other traders know what.
Love that. That's amazing. That's really, really smart. Yeah, that's very, very smart. I think that we should go back to.
Sorry, we've digressed.
No, but there's a link in here that we should probably fill in the gaps. So lockdown happens and things are very difficult for everybody, and storytellers have no way to tell stories to their festival and usual crowds through those years, and so we got involved in a thing. Involved in a thing that led to a thing.
Well, Sarah rings me up and says, well, it's before that she'd, I should explain this moment that there is a tractor with, not a tractor, a pickup truck with towing a trailer full of rubbish from the festival that is going chug, chug, chug past us at this very moment. It's excellent.
Reversing in a very, very skillful fashion.
It is amazing, isn't it? Well, so John Landover was saying, he said he works in the city, and if there's not a firm he knows that can work as efficiently as a proper, I'm not talking about corporate festivals, but I'm talking about like these little festivals where it's all, where everyone knows each other and all working together. And he says nothing works. He says, I go not just at the end, but I go across my land and there's no litter anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's important.
And it's just, he said in a few days' time, this will be back to pristine condition when everything's left. And so, anyway, to go back, it really it's your fault. It's all your fault.
I am the instigator on many an occasion of it being my fault for someone. Sorry.
You rang me up.
Sorry, not sorry.
You rang me up and said, is it okay if I tell Mike you'll help him? He wants to start a storytelling cafe. I suggested he gets in touch with you. And I thought, yeah, well, that's cool. And so that was already, and then lockdown happened.
Yeah, it did.
And you rang me up again and said, and you didn't. This time you didn't ask me if it was okay. You just said I have suggested that you get John to curate this website that you're thinking. That
there wasn't really anyone else I knew whose CV fitted so perfectly for the tasks to be done.
Yes, so I mean, at the height of lockdown, we were doing 29 programs a week.
We were,
and
huge diversity of types of storytellers, locations of storytellers. It became something absolutely worldwide. It was quite amazing.
Yes, I just rang up everyone, or Facebook messaged everyone I'd ever met on the road, really.
One or two then.
Yeah, well, they got hold of other people. But and amongst the people, of course, was no longer a young man, but now in his 20s, a certain Zuhair.
Zuhair, the translator now.
And now he has just started the School of Storytelling at the Storytellers Union of Marrakesh. And then the pestilence hit. And he's thinking, oh no, man, like I've just started this thing and it's going to be dead in the water. And we did the cafe clock tellers.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, it was a lifebelt, really.
I think a lot of things just collided gracefully there. The Moroccan tradition of the halqa, the circle for the stories, had always been a space that was a sacred, almost storytelling space in Jim el Fana, which is this big communal market square in the centre of Marrakesh. But it got noisier with motorbikes and music and stuff over time, and the storytellers found it really hard to compete. So it kind of didn't happen as much in the square. And so the cafe clock was the space that they went to instead. And then you managed to bring it all full circle back to the square.
Yes, yeah. There was a lovely moment where we'd done. We were discussing with the masters. Well, by this time, Harish was too ill to be part of it, but he was there. It was the first time he'd come out. He came to the meeting, and of course that was a big thing that Harish came to the meeting, and then the five masters were together discussing it, and we were talking about having one circle, and they're all nattering away, and I can't understand a word that's going on, and then they say to Zuhair, and Zuhair says to me, "The masters have decided we will not have one circle, we will have five." And
Rational.
but I mean, for what was important to me was that I think, when the middle classes rediscover something, they call it a revival. It's never stopped, but and that's not knocking it, because without that happening, one, I wouldn't be earning a living, and that has helped a lot of stuff survive. It's put money into the pot, which is you can't take out that sort of middle class involvement, because otherwise things do disappear. But they are sometimes in need of resuscitation. I like to call things a resuscitation rather than revival. But I was always concerned. It was like, we're a bunch of international storytellers that have got connections with Marrakesh. Marrakesh has got a 1,000-year-old storytelling tradition. But I was very concerned that it shouldn't be imposed from outside. It always had to be in collaboration with the Moros, or if you're on some new form of cultural colonialism, which is probably reading too much. But it's just.
No, I think it's really important to have that viewpoint about going somewhere else and getting involved in something that's culturally part of a creative culture that doesn't belong to you. You can join up with it, but you can never overbear. You should always be side by side and totally respectful to what belongs and is indigenous.
Yeah, I mean, and it gets weird because, of course, one of the reasons Marrakesh is so great for tourism, and one is because it's not a new thing. It's the tourism industry is nearly as old as the storytelling industry, because of the tradition, because of Marrakesh being halfway between Timbuktu and the coast, and so the 3,000 camels on the square, 1,000 coming, 1,000 going, and 1,000 there, and people needed entertainment, trade, and somewhere to stay.
Yeah, all the stuff that everybody.
It's just that it's changed. It's just that it's no longer the traders go on their camels, because you can fly the stuff now, and but it's European tourists.
The footfall's still going on.
Yeah, it's and that's one of the things that stopped it being spoiled. I think it's why, although it changes, and anyone say it's not the same as it was, but things. It's a bit like Glastonbury. It's not the same as it was, but it's not about the tourists. It's about the people on the ground surviving, as far as I'm concerned.
We're getting into complicated dependencies territories, so.
Yeah. No, I can.
It's a web.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. That it is complex, but I think. Partly as a result of Zuhair extending my knowledge, because Marrakesh was the Islamic City of Culture this year,
Yeah.
and he had me across as part of the UK contingent, and I quite liked the fact that it was the Moroccans that ran it this year.
That's great.
Um,
But it needed someone with Zohra's tenacity, determination,
yeah,
intelligence, and light touch to make it work. And he has all of those covered.
absolutely.
He's an impressive young man.
But he's kind of fascinated by. I mean, he wanted us to do a two-hand at one point with Queen Elizabeth and the Moroccan ambassador. That's Queen Elizabeth I, because he's talking about trade going back to Queen Elizabeth the first time, and it's always been of equals, or it was at that point equals. And so, could I do a story which seemed really a dry subject? So I wrote one, or I made one up. I hadn't written it down. I did a synopsis that could be handed out to the Moroccan audience, and you told me that story has already travelled to Rabat.
I was given it in Rabat on a boat of all places. So there you go.
So I've obviously now become part of the Moroccan storytelling.
Word spreads really well in Marrakesh and Morocco. This is something that I'm very aware of. If something happens on one side of the Medina of Marrakesh, someone at the other side of the Medina of Marrakesh will know about it before you walk across the Medina to hear the news about yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And so, what are you doing now there?
What am I doing now in Morocco? Well, I spent 3 months there last year because there was a huge earthquake, and I was part of the core team who set up a warehouse to take the things that were needed to the villages in the mountains. So I spent a long time in Morocco at that point in time. Since then I've been back to do 2 educational cultural tours in the south of Morocco. And I've also been involved in some goings on in a new museum in Marrakesh, a jewellery museum. So yeah, still ties, different ties.
And what are you doing in this country?
What am I doing in this country? Just moved house. I'm writing a free online magazine. I run some very large communities for people who are interested in the language and stories of adornment and the material culture of mostly women from all around the world. I'm working in a gallery in London, and I'm hosting online events.
Perfect.
I think that might be everything. Oh, and hanging out at festivals a bit.
Yeah,
That never
and
changes.
I mean, here you were looking after the crew kids and putting on entertainment for them.
Yeah. Giving the crew a break.
And I have every confidence that you will drop me in it again at some point in the future.
I think it is my life's mission to always find something delightfully complicated to drop you into, John Ray.
Yes, well...
You seem to swim well. It's fine.
Yeah, well, it's taken me to some wonderful places.
And I've also taken the edge off today with some breakfast, so as long as I keep doing the feeder thing, then you forgive me anything, so we're all good.
We're all good. We're all good. Well, thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you, John. Nice to have a chat. And also, congratulations on the book.
Ah, yes. Yes, you're one of the many that have been hassling me for some years to write it.
I have. I think it's important. I think it's a life well lived, and everybody should be able to learn how to do that.
Ah,
Because
right.
it involves values and skills which may not be the mainstream.
Ah. I've never swum up the main stream. It's too crowded.
And polluted.